thank you guys for coming. So I'm here at Mercy Home Health, and I am gonna ask you guys to introduce yourselves. We'll start with Carrie.
My name is Carrie, and I am an RN coder at Mercy Home.
My name is Jennifer, and I'm the rehab supervisor at Mercy Home Health.
And my name is Dawn, and I am a physical therapist assistant here at Mercy Home Health.
Can't see that. So I'm Tanya Snow, and I'm an RN here at Mercy Home Health.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about conducting business and social etiquette in Mexico. So, anybody thought about starting to try business in Mexico? No, nobody, everybody's very happy here. So, I gave you guys handouts since our projector is not up and running just yet. So hopefully you guys can see my computer, and if not, the handouts will help you. So we're going to cover just a few topics today about doing business in Mexico and some important customs that can help you be successful. So one of them is social customs, family life, and class structure. It's very intertwined in Mexico as far as their family and business, food and clothing, and economic institutions. So we're going to start with social customs. We're going to talk about addressing others, the proper way to address somebody in Mexico, the proper way to greet them, appropriate conversations to be had, and the differences between how we have conversations in the United States compared to Mexico, and body language and gestures, because there are a few things that we do here in America that are not okay in Mexico. You'll be surprised. So let's talk about addressing others. When you meet somebody, when you walk in a room and you're first meeting somebody, you should never address them by their first name. The only people who are allowed to address each other by their first name is usually family or really close acquaintances. You should always address them by their professional title. They're very proud. If they have gone to school and they have earned their degree as a doctor, a professor, an architect, an engineer, a lawyer, they want to be addressed as Professor so-and-so or Dr. so-and-so. And you should always follow it with their surname, so their last name. And if they don't have a professional name, so like say they're just a regular person, you call them Mr., Mrs., and Miss. That's appropriate, followed by their surname. So, let's see next. So, how do you greet somebody in Mexico? Well, men greet each other by just a firm handshake. Women, when a man greets a woman, it's either by a firm handshake or by a kiss on the cheek. Women should always initiate the handshake with a man, though. It should always be done that way. Now, when women greet each other, they pat each other on the right forearm or on the shoulder. Yes, you have a question?
If the women don't greet you with a handshake, do they still want a kiss on the cheek?
If women don't greet you with a hand, so like if a woman walks up to you,
You say they have to initiate the handshake, but if they don't initiate the handshake, does
then
that
it would
mean-
probably be appropriate to reach out, grab their hand, and give them a kiss on the
Oh.
cheek in a very polite, professional manner. So, now, if you are, let's say you get invited to a party. It's a very big step in your business relationship if you're invited to a party at their home. If you're invited to a party at their home, when you enter the room and it's a small gathering, you should slightly bow to the people in the room and then allow the host to make introductions. When they're done with introductions, you shake everybody's hands and greet them again. Now, on larger scale parties, you don't have to shake everybody's hands, but when you do meet somebody, make sure you do shake their hand. Now when you're leaving, you should make sure you address everybody, thank them, shake their hands again, and leave. All right. So, conversation in Mexico is very different. So, like I said before, they're a very prideful country. So, it's best if you arrive in Mexico a little bit early, do some sightseeing, so that you have good topics to have a conversation about. They're not very confrontational, so they won't tell you no. So if you ask them something, or you propose something, they may not say no, but they may say mañana, which means tomorrow, or we'll see, or maybe. It's kind of their way of saying no but not saying no. They don't like, if you're very direct with them, they think that's rude and pushy. So if speaking Spanish, not necessary, because English is very widespread in Mexico, particularly between upper class and middle class. A lot of people are learning English. But if you do learn Spanish, it's very beneficial because they feel like you're taking an interest in their culture and their country. And it would definitely make conversations probably a lot easier. So also, the main religion in, I think it's 82% of people in Mexico are Roman Catholic. So do not use the Lord's name in vain. It's very disrespectful to them. Okay. So here's some topics to discuss with them, and some topics to avoid discussing with them. They don't mind talking about the scenery, the landmarks, immediate surroundings, their culture and their history, because they're very prideful again. They particularly like talking about sports, in particular their football or soccer. And they will talk about the weather, but it said they're not as fond of talking about the weather as Americans are, people from the United States. So, topics to avoid. Avoid talking about religion. Avoid talking about Mexican politics, because that's very controversial right now. This one, Mexican-American War and consequences for Mexico. Probably shouldn't talk about how they lost and all the horrible things that happened during that. And then comparing Mexico unfavorably to the U.S., I would think that would be a very bad poem for you to talk about. You may not make friends that way. So now here's what we talked about in their different body language and gestures. They tend to talk to people in a much closer proximity. They, and if you move away, they find that kind of to be rude, and they will just move closer. So don't move away, just get used to them being probably 6 inches closer than you're used to in America. They don't like direct, intense eye contact. It makes them feel uncomfortable and like you're challenging them a bit. Also, men should not put their hands in their pockets. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but apparently they feel like that's not appropriate, that's offensive. And you should not put your hands on your hips like this, because that's seen as a challenge to them. They also feel like slouching means you're bored. They interpret that as being bored, so make sure you sit upright. Yes. And then here's a vulgar gesture. Don't do this in Mexico. Do not make the OK sign. I don't know what it means, but don't do it. All right. Family life and class structure. So we're going to talk about the family life and their structure and the hierarchy of Mexico. So family is the nucleus of Mexico, and it's very important. Everything is connected to their family, and including their extended family. In the United States, we just have our parents and maybe our siblings, but they have cousins and uncles, and everybody is very, very close. They have very large families, particularly in rural areas. In the cities, maybe not so large. They tend to follow traditional gender roles, such as the wife cooks, cleans, and stays home, takes care of babies, where the man works. That's pretty standard. And then they have what they call machismo. I may not be pronouncing that correctly. Is that correct? So that basically means masculinity. So it's very common in the Mexican men to have this kind of macho attitude. And so an example is if they make maybe somewhat of what we would consider a derogatory comment to a woman, it's normal for them, and you shouldn't take offense. What has been explained to me. So it's not seen as harassment. All right. So now, although it's not a traditional role, women are starting to work outside the home more and more, and that is due to the men coming to the United States and working here more. So the wife is back home trying to manage their home and their children, but she's having to work outside the home to make some money there. So it's becoming more and more. Now, lower educated women, women who don't have a high education, they tend to do jobs like housekeeping, doing somebody's laundry, waitressing, those kinds of things. But women who have a college degree or education, they actually are getting jobs as professors and architects and doctors and more traditional jobs as you would see in the United States. So now their class structure is very similar to our class structure in the United States. They have your low class, middle class, high class. So if you have money and power, then you are a high class person and you control everything. But if you don't have money or you don't have connections, then you control nothing. Your rights are actually limited. So, clothing and food. We're going to talk about business attire and food and entertainment because their whole business structure revolves around food and entertainment. So, business attire for men, it is important, particularly in the larger cities doing business, wear dark conservative suits, a tie, a well-pressed shirt, and shoes that are polished to a high shine, to a nice gloss on their shoes. Women should wear dresses, skirted suits, or skirts or blouses. Hosiery and high heels, they're big on women being very feminine, so they recommend high heels and hose. And a light coat for evening wear. Now, both genders should be very meticulous about your dress. It's important to them. And leave your valuables, like your jewelry and your watches at home. They still have some high incidence of thefts and such, so they recommend that you not wear any expensive jewelry. And no shorts or tennis shoes, period. Okay, food and entertainment. This is where it all happens. So breakfast is early, 7 to 8 o'clock, and can be over an hour. It's usually a very hearty breakfast. Lunch can start anywhere between 1:30 and 2, but can last till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And it's their main meal of the day. And this is where they do all their socializing. Dinner is usually done at night at 9 p.m. and is very light. So, and I'm told that's when a lot of, if they're gonna have alcoholic beverages, that's when that occurs. So, breakfast and lunch are good times for business. And you really don't discuss business during these times unless your host brings it up. It's more about socializing and building that bond. Relationships are very important to them. And so by building a good personal relationship will make your business transactions easier. So business women should always hold luncheons at their hotel and sign for the bill ahead of time, because the male businessmen in Mexico will resist letting her pay for the bill, and since it's a business transaction, you should probably pay for it ahead of time. You should also never invite as a woman, you should never invite a man to a luncheon by himself if you're alone as a woman. If you have another colleague, it's not a big deal, but you should not be alone with them. They should bring their spouse or another colleague. And then, so something really interesting I found out is you should never put money down on a table or a counter. You should always hand your payment, whether it's credit card or cash, you should always hand it to the waiter or the person that you're paying, because it's seen as rude to put it on the counter. So, table manners. Keep your hands visible when eating. Keep your wrists resting on the edge of the table. And when you are done eating, you need to place your knife and your fork with the prongs down and the handles to the right across your plate. And do not begin eating until the hostess does. I think that's kind of common in America. In our family it is. And it's polite to leave a little bit of food on your plate. It's a sign of politeness. So do not sit until you are invited and told where to sit. And men are the only ones who can make toasts. Women cannot make toasts. And let's see. All right. So, invitations to parties. Important thank you gifts. It's not necessary, but it's appreciated. There are a few things you should not give them. You should not give them yellow flowers. It means death. To them, it's a signifier of death. Red flowers means casting spells. So don't cast any spells. And they're very proud of the silver they produce. They produce one of the highest, or purest silver in the country, and so in the continent. And so they are very proud of their silver. So don't give them silver. They would just see that as you being rude and disrespectful. But flowers, white flowers are uplifting. They take away spells. So, but they recommend that you have a local florist or somebody, a local, help you pick out flowers and do flowers. You can invite them to another lunch. Sweets, they like sweets. And then one of my interviews I did with a gentleman who's from Mexico, he says they like tequila too. So you can always bring them tequila. He says, no joke, they like it. And interesting enough, they ask that if you arrive at a party, arrive at least 30 minutes late. They don't run, Americans are very punctual. They're kind of laid back and so at least 30 minutes late, and you should probably ask your other people, how late they should really be, because you could be up to an hour late too. All right, economic institutions. So this is the exports, business cards, and conducting business and negotiation. The top 5 exports for Mexico: vehicles makes up 23.7% of their exports. Electronic equipment, 21.3% of their exports. Machines, engines and pumps, 15.5% of their exports. Oil is 6%, and medical and technical equipment is 4%. I was kind of surprised about that. So, if you go to hand them a business card, it is, they should be exchanged in your initial introductions. One side of the card should be in Spanish, so they can read it. And that is the side that you should present to them when you're presenting the business card. And then they also, and I thought this was interesting, but include your professional and your educational qualifications. So they want to know, but to them that is power. That means you higher up on the list. The number one thing in conducting business in Mexico is good personal relationships. Introductions are crucial. You must, it is important on your initial introduction to have somebody that is credible and very well respected introduce you to a senior management person, because if an introduction goes badly, you'll never get rid of that. It'll just end there. They're very emotional people, so emotional appeals are effective. Negotiations are often lengthy and take several meetings, hence because most of your interactions are over lunch. Never send a junior employee to negotiate with senior management. That's disrespectful. Senior management wants to talk to somebody who can make the decisions, not somebody who says, oh, I gotta talk to somebody else. They don't like attorneys on your negotiating team, so don't include an attorney on your negotiating team. Apparently it will go very badly. And they prefer face-to-face interactions rather than phone calls and emails and letters. They prefer to talk to somebody. All right, does anybody have any questions? Don has questions.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
What do they import?
They import some, I'm trying to think, they do import some agricultural and livestock. They import a lot of technology actually from the United States, a lot of electronics. Even though they export a lot, they do import newer, and medical, they import a lot more medical products than we do. I think those are the top few imports. Yes. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you guys for coming. I hope you learned something.
Thank you.
Thank you.